The moment Seo-Rin Yoon realized her marriage was over had nothing to do with a fight. It happened at 11:43 on a Thursday morning in the lobby of a glass tower in Gangnam, when her husband of 9 years walked past her without stopping. She had been waiting for him. They had agreed, breakfast, then the museum, then an afternoon stroll along the Han River. She had worn the blue dress he once said made her look like herself. She had arrived 10 minutes early, the way she always did, because she believed punctuality was its own form of love. He walked past her, eyes forward, jaw set, and beside him, close enough that their arms brushed, was a woman Seo-Rin had never seen. She did not call out his name. She did not move. She stood in the polished lobby of that Gangnam tower, her reflection fragmented across the mirrored walls, and understood something without words. He had not forgotten she was there. He had decided she didn't matter enough to acknowledge. What she didn't know, what neither of them knew, was that someone else in that lobby had seen everything. Seo-Rin had married Joon-Ho at 28 because she believed in the version of him that showed up on their first date, a man who quoted Neruda from memory, who asked about her childhood without glancing at his phone, who seemed genuinely surprised that someone like her had been waiting to be found. She was an architect by training, quiet, methodical, precise. She saw beauty in structure, in the way a well-designed space could make a person feel held without walls closing in. She brought that same attention to their life together. She arranged things so that they fit. When Joon-Ho's import business began struggling 3 years into their marriage, she didn't ask him to account for the money she quietly redirected from her own projects. When he grew distant during the 4th year, she told herself distance was not disappearance. When he asked her to leave her firm and travel with him, Seoul, Tokyo, Singapore, she went, because she thought marriage was a long project and good projects required sacrifice. Seoul had been his idea, a second honeymoon, he called it, a chance to remember who they were before the years compressed them. She had packed carefully. She had looked forward to it in the tentative way she'd trained herself to hope. Not fully, not openly, but enough. She told her mother, "We're going to try again." Her mother had paused before saying, "That's good, Seo-Rin. That's what you do."
The first 3 days in Seoul were almost convincing. Joon-Ho took her to a Hanjan-sik restaurant in Insadong, where 12 small dishes arrived like gifts. He laughed at something she said about the kimchi being too polite for the side of town they were in. He held her hand crossing the street near Gyeongbokgung Palace, and for a few seconds she allowed herself to feel it, the warmth of being chosen. On the 4th morning, she woke to an empty bed. His suitcase was gone from the wardrobe. His toiletries, the expensive ones she'd bought him in Myeongdong 2 days before, had vanished from the bathroom shelf. On the desk, her return flight ticket, printed but left, and a single key card for the hotel room. No note. Not even her name written somewhere. She checked her phone, a message from Joon-Ho sent at 5:22 a.m. "I think we've both known for a long time. I'm sorry it took me this long, to be honest." She read it 3 times. She opened the wardrobe. She checked under the bed. She called his number and reached a voicemail that was already full. Then she checked her wallet. Her credit card, the joint one, had been declined when she tried to order room service. She tried again, declined. She opened their banking app. The shared account had been closed. He had not just left. He had constructed the leaving, the timing, the city, the single-sentence message, all of it designed to strand her without spectacle, to make her departure from the marriage feel like a personal failure rather than a crime against her. She sat on the edge of the hotel bed in Yongsan-gu, 9 floors above a city that had nothing to do with her grief, and she breathed. She did not scream. She had never been someone who screamed. She was, however, someone who observed. And what she observed, sitting very still in that room, was that she still had her passport, she still had the emergency card she'd kept separately since the second year of their marriage, a small, quiet act of self-preservation she'd never once explained to him. And she was in Seoul, one of the most navigable cities in the world. He thought he had stranded her. He had simply handed her a different kind of beginning. But first, she had to find out who had been in that lobby. She had noticed him the day before, though she hadn't meant to. He was standing near the revolving doors of their hotel, the kind of man who commands attention by refusing to seek it. Dark coat, open collar, the unhurried posture of someone who made peace with time. He'd been on a phone call, speaking low, and his eyes had moved across the lobby with the practiced sweep of someone reading a room rather than occupying it. Their eyes had met for exactly 2 seconds. He'd looked away first. She had thought nothing of it. But on the 4th morning, after Joon-Ho's message, when she walked downstairs to find a currency exchange, she found a small envelope at the front desk with her name on it. Inside, a business card, dark matte paper, a name in both Korean and English, Min-Jae Suh, Director of Operations, Cheongha Group, and below that, handwritten in careful script, "If you need assistance navigating the city, my office is available." She stared at the card for a long time. She did not know Min-Jae Suh. She did not know the Cheongha Group. She knew only that a stranger had been watching her closely enough to notice something was wrong before she had fully admitted it to herself. She put the card in her coat pocket and walked to Myeongdong for breakfast. She paid with her emergency card. She ordered doenjang chi-jae and ate it slowly, watching the street traffic. She did not call the number on the card. Not yet.
Joon-Ho Cha, by his own account, was a man who understood leverage. He had grown up watching his father negotiate from weakness and lose, again and again, and he had decided early that the only position worth occupying was one of advantage. He was not cruel, he told himself. He was strategic. There was a difference. He had met Yuri, the woman in the Gangnam lobby, 8 months earlier at a trade conference in Singapore. She was younger, uncomplicated by history, enthusiastic in the way people are before they understand what enthusiasm costs. He found that restful. He had left Seo-Rin in Seoul because Seoul is far enough that the conversation could not happen in real time. Distance, he believed, absorbed drama. By the time she flew home, she would figure out how to fly home. She always figured things out. The worst of her emotion would have passed, and they could handle the lawyers calmly. He did not consider that she might not go home. The first sign that something had shifted came a week later, when his assistant mentioned that the lease renewal on their Singapore office was being reviewed. Standard audit, he was told. Nothing to worry about. Then came the call from his primary business partner, a man named Baek, who said, carefully, in the tone reserved for bad news, that the Cheongha Group had quietly exited their shared distribution agreement. Joon-Ho went still. The Cheongha Group was not a partner he could replace easily. They were not a company that made decisions carelessly. Baek hesitated. They didn't say, he said, but Min-Jae Suh personally signed the withdrawal letter. Joon-Ho said nothing. He was already calculating. 2 days after that, a compliance notice arrived from the Trade Ministry. A routine review of his import contracts had revealed irregularities in customs documentation from 18 months prior. The review would take time. Business would need to be paused in the interim. He was not a superstitious man, but he found himself, for the first time in years, sleeping badly. Seo-Rin had called the number on the card 11 days after receiving it. Not because she needed saving, because she had done some research, and the research had been interesting. The Cheongha Group was one of Seoul's quieter conglomerates, logistics, real estate, private equity, run by Min-Jae Suh, who had inherited the company at 34 and transformed it from a mid-tier shipping firm into something considerably more substantial. He was not famous in the way celebrities were famous. He was known the way water pressure is known. You feel it before you understand it. What interested Seo-Rin was not his wealth. It was this. For the past 2 years, the Cheongha Group had been quietly acquiring shares in Joon-Ho's primary distribution network, slowly, carefully, with the patience of someone who was not in a hurry. She had not connected this to herself, not at first, but then she pulled the timeline. Cheongha's entry into Joon-Ho's network had begun, she checked the dates twice, 3 weeks after Joon-Ho had declined a merger offer from a Cheongha subsidiary. He had declined it dismissively, according to a mutual colleague she reached by phone. He had called their representative, she looked up who had led that meeting, Min-Jae Suh, difficult to work with, arrogant. Min-Jae Suh had begun purchasing his company's infrastructure 48 hours later. Seo-Rin sat with that for a moment. Then she called the number. His office was in a building near the Han River in Mapo-gu, not ostentatious, not hidden, simply precise. She was shown in without waiting. He was standing at the window, watching a ferry move below, and he turned when she entered with the measured attention of someone who had been expecting exactly this. "You waited longer than I thought you would," he said. "I wanted to understand the situation first," she said. A pause. He gestured to the chair across from him. "The lobby," she said, sitting. "You recognized me." "I recognized the pattern," he said. "He'd walked 10 feet ahead of you every morning since you arrived. He was in the lobby to meet someone else. You were there because you still believed you had a reason to be." She absorbed this. It was accurate in a way that required no softening. "And the card?" she said. "I didn't know what you'd do with it," he said, "but I thought you deserved the choice." She looked at him directly. "You've been dismantling his business." He didn't flinch. "I've been reclaiming an asset he undervalued. The timing is coincidental, mostly." A faint shift in his expression. "He insulted someone I trusted in that meeting. He does that, dismisses people he thinks he's outgrown. I find it unacceptable in business." She studied him. "So this isn't about me." "It wasn't," he said, "until it was." She let that land. "What do you want from me?" "Nothing," he said. "I want nothing from you. I'm telling you what's happening because you have a right to know what the next 6 months of his life will look like. And because," he paused carefully, "I think you may be an exceptionally good architect, and I have 3 projects in this city that are about to need one." She looked at him for a long time. "I'll need to review the briefs," she said. He almost smiled. "Of course." The divorce papers reached her 3 months later, forwarded to a serviced apartment in Seoul that she had rented with her first consulting fee. She signed them at the kitchen table on a Sunday morning, with tea going cold beside her and the distant sound of the city waking up below. She did not feel grief exactly. She felt the specific exhaustion of someone who has been holding something heavy for a long time and has finally, cleanly set it down. She filed them without ceremony. Joon-Ho's business had not collapsed. She did not wish for collapse, that was not the kind of woman she was, but it had contracted sharply. The customs review, the lost contracts, the withdrawal of Cheongha's logistics support. He had spent months in damage control that left him smaller, more careful, less sure of himself. By the time his lawyers were handling her paperwork, she heard through mutual channels that he had broken things off with Yuri, too. The uncomplicated ones remain uncomplicated once the complications begin. Seo-Rin thought about this briefly, with a kind of abstract compassion that surprised her. Then she went back to work. The first Cheongha project was a residential complex near Bukchon Hanok Village. 52 units, mixed-use lower floors, the brief asking for something that felt like history without imitation. She spent 3 weeks in the neighborhood before drawing a single line, walking it at different hours, learning where the light fell. She submitted plans that the review board called quietly radical. They approved them in 6 weeks. Min-Jae Suh sent her a 1-line message after the approval, "Well done." She replied with the one that was honest, "I know." He had not rescued her. She had not needed rescuing. What he had done, with a business card left at a hotel desk and a set of professional introductions, was offer her the specific thing that loneliness takes away, the sense that someone is paying attention. She did not romanticize it. She did not rush it. She was 37 years old, she had rebuilt herself from a hotel room in Yongsan-gu, and she understood now that the best structures, in architecture, in life, are not the ones that hold you in place. They are the ones that give you somewhere to stand while you figure out where you want to go. On a Friday evening in autumn, she stood on the roof of the building she was designing, watching the Han River catch the last of the light, and she thought she remembered the last time she had felt this specific feeling, unencumbered, exact, entirely herself, and realized she couldn't. Not because it had never existed, but because she had spent so long making herself smaller for someone who never once looked up to see her. She looked up now. The river moved below, and the city stretched around her in every direction, indifferent and magnificent, and she thought, "This is mine." Not the skyline, not the river, not even the building beneath her feet. The standing, the choosing, the refusing to disappear. That was hers. He had left her in Seoul, thinking she had nowhere to go. She had simply made it home.